I saw Ty. And as soon as I woke up, he kneels down. I'm like, that's really weird. And I see him patting the floor. And I'm like, okay, well, this guy's looking for the idol. And I'm just right away sketch. Felt comfortable with him. But now, I don't trust you for a freaking second.
Be Beauty, who's blown a massive lead.
Come on. 1, 2.
Keep digging, Beauty. Puzzle or dexterity.
Puzzle.
Figure out what clues can I find that will help me solve it, because both other tribes have had down to their last piece. Beauty has it. Beauty wins immunity and reward, sending the bro.
Second in.
Trying to fight.
I don't know what.
This should change your life.
There's just something about Nick that I don't trust. He's so difficult to talk to. He has such a fake smile, and it just really rubs me the wrong way. If we have 3 girls and 3 guys, we need to pull over one of the guys. So here's the thing. The girls are going to stay together, and those girls and I are super loyal. We would never, I mean, this is a game, and I can lie to you, but I would never backstab you like that, ever.
Yeah.
Here's the problem, though. I don't trust Nick.
Yeah.
I don't. You know what I mean? I do not.
Wow, such hey guys, I'm live right now. One of the best experiences of my life, and I'm so excited. I've had this request for a very long time to do this show, to talk about what it was like auditioning for Survivor and being on Survivor, and then what are my thoughts now with the very woke Survivor show. So I'm really excited to get into it. I apologize for I was trying to cut clips where, you know, obviously we're in a bikini on the show, and obviously the show was before I met Jesus. So this is very much BC, before Christ. But I stand by it. This was my life. It's part of my testimony. But I'm really, really, really excited to get into all the details. I'm also going to talk about some lingo, some Survivor lingo. If you're watching the show, you're probably wondering, what is coconut tree? What is coconut grove? Why is she always going on a walk? I'm going to tell you some Survivor lingo that will actually change your experience watching it as well. So make sure to share this, subscribe, comment down below, get the algorithm up, very much shadow banned on YouTube. But yeah, Russell Hantz is on the show tomorrow. So you want to tune in and watch his interview. I interviewed him the other day. It was, it was fun. He's a really fun interview. So he's going to talk about his thoughts on the show now as well. And obviously for those that most of I think you guys know, I was on the show Survivor season 32, Wrong, back in 2016. Before I jump into all of that stuff and all of your questions, by the way, I'm live. I wanted to do this so we can interact. Please put your comments in the, Facebook, YouTube, wherever you are. Put your comments in there. I'll jump into it. But I'll be right back after this 30-second sponsor shout out to my channel. Be right back. Noble Gold.
Noble Gold Investments is pleased to let you know that gold is the best performing asset for 2022. According to longtermtrends.net, gold has actually outperformed the S&P 500, the Dow, and Bitcoin for 2022. So what are you waiting for? Open a gold IRA or silver IRA with Noble Gold Investments this month and receive a free 1/4 ounce American Gold Eagle coin with every qualifying IRA. Find out more at noblegoldinvestments.com. Again, that's noblegoldinvestments.com.
Pac-Man, he said it's going to be fun and insightful. It will be. I think so. Brett said should be good. One of the best seasons of all time. And I'm telling you, I'm not saying this just because I was on this season. But in my opinion, and I'm a big Survivor fan, or I should say I really was a big Survivor fan. I actually, little side note, I don't watch it anymore for a few different reasons. But one of them is I was really such a big fan of the show. It was like a dream to get on, and it was a miracle I got on my first try. When I tried out in 2015, and I tried out in 2014. We filmed 2015, and we had to wait a year before my show broadcasted on February 2016. So I had to kind of wait a long time. So I'm going to talk about the audition process. By the way, season 32, this was the Brain Beauty Brawn 2, right? This was the second installment. Some of my favorite seasons, people ask me as well, what's your favorite season? My favorite seasons, when I actually started watching the show, was season 19, Samoa, with Russell Hantz. And I remember being 18 years old in high school, and I was dating my high school sweetheart at the time for like 6 years or something. Anyway, him and I, we were discussing the show, and I'm like, this is an amazing show. One day I want to get on the show Survivor, and one day I want to be a professional poker player. And my high school sweetheart, I think I was around 17 or 18, he looks at me, he goes, Anna, that's never going to happen. And fast forward all those years later, not even 10 years later, I was on Survivor, and I was the first female poker player on Survivor. So you guys know I was kind of playing that professionally for a few years before I got on the show. So let me jump into the audition process. This was interesting. So I first sent in a audition tape, because I heard, you can send it in. So I made a parody video. I made like a funny little laughing video where I was basically poking fun at myself. So it was like, hey, I'm fast. And I'm like racing a 6-year-old and he beats me. Hey, I'm really good at puzzles. And someone threw me a Rubik's Cube and I couldn't figure it out. So it was meant to be kind of funny to get their attention, but I didn't get anyone to contact me. And I thought about it and I realized I didn't show enough personality. I really didn't talk. I really didn't show that I'm good on camera and I can hold a conversation. So one of my friends ended up telling me, by the grace of God, a few months later, hey, by the way, I know you love Survivor. There's an audition tomorrow in Caesars Casino in Atlantic City. And I was living in pretty much very close to Atlantic City, New Jersey at the time, because I was, playing poker full time. And I'm so happy that he let me know. My camera's a little fuzzy. It's out of focus. So he let me know, and I was so thankful for that. So the next day I went to Caesars Casino to try out, and it was a long, long line. It was a 6-hour wait. Kid you not. It was a 6-hour line. It snaked around the entire hotel. And I remember being, on a waiting list, on the line, talking to people. People have tried out for the show, for 6 years. Some people have tried out for 10 years. Some people tried out for 4 years, and they never got a phone call, never got an email. And I thought, my goodness, I'm wasting my time. Like, I'm not going to get on the show. But by God's grace, I did get on the show. It was a long audition process. By the way, there's like a few little things I'm not allowed to talk about because we signed an NDA. There are, NDAs for audition process. There's an NDA for, being on the show experience, but actually most of my NDAs actually expired after 5 years. So it's been more than 5 years. So I can actually discuss most of this. And honestly, there's really nothing like crazy that we, talk about that we experienced. I want to tell you this though, it's a real show. Like, it is reality TV. It's very, very authentic in terms of, I have friends who have been on other reality shows. I met them after I was on Survivor, and they told me some of their shows were 50% fake, scripted, right? Rehearsed, and also acted out, and 50% real. So with Survivor, it's not the case. You are actually starving. You're living on an island. To be honest with you, one of the most amazing things I got to see firsthand was how authentic they are to even the beginning of the show. For example, in the audition process, when I got a phone call after that live audition, waiting on line for 6 hours, I got a phone call a month later saying, hey, this is Caitlin from Survivor. I'm one of the main producers here and casting producers. And I'm wondering if you're interested to really be on the show, if you want to continue the process. And to be honest with you, I thought it was a prank call. I thought it was a prank. I was like, who is this? And this isn't funny. All my friends know I love the show. Why are you pranking me? This is cruel. Oh my gosh, sorry. I'm like out of focus. Let me just move my hand here. Sorry, guys, we're live. I want to be able to answer your questions. That's why I want to do it live. I hate when it does this. Anyway, I'll just keep talking. Maybe we'll go back. But anyway, so I see your questions here. I'll get there in a second. So I thought it was a prank call, and it wasn't. Thank God. And so I started the audition process. It was quite a long audition process. It was about 6 months of auditions. It was me going to my, cardiologist, making sure I don't have any kind of disease, any kind of rare undiagnosed heart conditions, because obviously they don't want anyone having, a heart attack on the show. Sorry, sometimes if I move, it'll unfocus here. Maybe if I put my teacup here. Oh, hallelujah, that works. Okay, I'll do that next time. So yeah, so I went through that vigorous process. After that, they're still talking to executives. They're still kind of looking through your background. They're doing a background check on you, criminal check. The reason why they obviously also do a background check is because they want to make sure you're not crazy. Why? Because you're actually living on an island. You're starving. You're barely sleeping. You really are in the elements. And they don't want someone losing their mind, grabbing the machete, even though we got a very dull machete. You know, all our tools on Survivor, part of the experience, by the way, very dull stuff. Like we got a pot that keeps flaking all the black stuff in there. You got a really dull machete. You can barely cut anything. I mean, I don't even know what it's for. It's kind of just for show, like to kind of maybe break a piece of rope if you can win it, right? You're not given anything. Another thing too with the experience, anything you find on the island, for example, let's say I find a fishing hook. The producers come and take it away. They say, you can't have any kind of equipment, any tools, unless you win it on the show. So that was another cool thing. But going back to the audition process, I know I'm jumping around. I'm so excited. I've been waiting for a long time to talk about this stuff. So thank you, Jesus. Okay. Part of the audition process that I really, really appreciated was when they flew me out to LA a few months later after that phone call. And there were different rounds of people. There was about a few, I would say maybe 60, 70 people each round of potential contestants. And we all went through an audition process. And really what it is are we observing other people? Are we interacting? And when I say interacting, this is what I love about their process, is that I can see all the contestants that are trying out. I can tell, okay, I think that one's probably going to get on the show. That one seems interesting. And you start kind of getting your own first impressions on people. But what I like about the show is that we were not allowed to talk to one another. The show is very authentic in that the first time you get to talk and converse with someone is on the show when the cameras are rolling. And the cameras are rolling 24/7. And I'm going to talk about that as well, what that was like. It was interesting. But again, with the audition process, I was very, very excited to see that, in fact, contestants do not talk to one another until we are actually on the beach. We're together and the cameras are rolling. That's when we can talk. So truly, I mean, obviously, if you're coming back to the show and this is not, your second, third time, fourth time, obviously, a lot of them talk to one another beforehand because they're friends or whatnot. But when you're first time contestant, it's those were always like the funnest shows too. I mean, I love when the returnees come back, but the first time contestants are really fun because it's really the first time. They don't know anybody. It might be a miracle if you do, but again, you don't talk to one another. So I love that part of the audition process. They really make sure we don't talk to each other, but you get your first impressions, right? So the producers will ask me during, the audition process, what do you think about this person? What do you think about that person? Would you work with that person? What are your first tells? And, being a poker player at the time, I'm used to making first hand, just really quick. I don't want to say judgments, but it really is a judgment. Okay, this person seems like this guy's a jock, very strong. He might be book smart as well. You never know. You don't want to really judge a book by its cover. But I can see the girls. I said, this girl, she always gives dirty looks. She's got a jealous spirit. I wouldn't want to work with her. But this girl is really sweet. She kind of looks over. And again, we're not allowed to talk, but you look at people, right? Because you're having lunch with them. You're at the pool with them. You're in the same space, but you're not allowed to interact. Like you can't go, even if you're not talking, you can't do that, but you can look and observe and, so I brought, instead of like science magazines, because I'm very much into biology, instead of bringing my science magazines, I brought my I was going to say Wall Street Journal, but I don't read that. But, like some just like cosmopolitan magazines to seem very kind of ditzy and very vain, even though I don't even read those. I read them in high school, barely even. But yeah, so I was trying to project a very ditzy kind of girl who's like a bartender. Well, I'm not saying I used to be a bartender. Not to say they're ditzy, but someone who's not strategic. So I came in the show knowing I was never going to tell anyone I play poker because I don't want anyone to know that I'm a strategic kind of game player, a game theory player. So I didn't want them to know. I love puzzles. I love critical thinking. I love game theory. And so I didn't want to tell them, and I didn't. The only person I told on the show that I was a professional poker player was my bestie, which was Julia. Julia, the youngest girl on the show, she told me that she was 18, that she didn't tell anybody. She was actually the youngest person to ever play Survivor. And I told her my secret. That really solidified our bond. Like, that was my girl. That was my ride or die in the show. And I was not going to ever throw her under the bus. But anyway, I unfortunately got out early, and she told me she was hysterically crying, trying to keep it together. We were really, really, really close. So that was the audition process. So once we got on the show, we actually all flew out around, what was it? We flew out at the end of March 2015, and we started filming around April. So we flew out, we had about a week together. We still were not allowed to talk to one another. We were in Cambodia, right? Koh Rong. By the way, season 32 was supposed to be Cambodia, right? But since we were delayed and season 33 ended up being pushed before us, so they became season 31, which was the returnees. People get to vote who they want to see back. That was season 31, Cambodia. So here's something that people don't know. Survivor actually films 2 seasons back to back. They film back to back. So for example, they will film Cambodia. I mean, they spend what some of the production people told me, they spend about $20 million pre-production on Survivor. $20 million pre-production on Survivor. What does that mean? Meaning you have to build the sets, you have to build all the puzzles, you have to build all of the obstacle courses, you have to get ready where you're going to put the cameras. I mean, it's a whole thing. Like when we came out on the mat to meet Jeff Probst to start the game, I was shocked because on the TV, you see just Jeff Probst. You see 18 of us or 20 of us and Jeff, the host. But behind Jeff, what you don't see is about 300 people behind him. You have about 20 different camera people with different cameras, and there's about 3-4 angles on each contestant. You have cameras taking pictures of every single person and different views and the host and all these different angles. Like, you have there's literally, I look like I was on the red carpet. I mean, it was so many cameras. I was shocked. And then you have also the staff. You have the staff monitoring everything. You have the staff, just running around behind the scenes. Again, you don't see them on camera. Actually, my season was the only time you saw the staff behind Jeff. When Caleb, I hope I'm not spoiling anything, but when Caleb, I'm not going to say any more details than this, but when Caleb went down, I think it was in the 4th episode, where he almost died and got medically evacuated from the show. That's when they realized it was 120 degrees. It was super hot. We're running around digging for stuff in the sand. We're in the sun for about 3 hours, running around from the water to digging in the sand. I mean, it was we didn't have any water. We have a little tiny canteen bottle with a little bit of water. This is coffee right now, but a little bit of water in the canteen bottle. That's not going to last you, really, especially when you're a big guy. Caleb is a big military guy, so he needs a lot of water. And during the challenge, since you want to win, you don't run to get water. You just plow through until you're done, and then you grab the water. And I remember with Caleb, I had my canteen ready. I was running to Nick, even though you saw a little clip, I didn't trust Nick. I still was going to give him water so he didn't die. So I ran to Nick, gave him water. And on the side, I saw Caleb go down right in the corner of my eye. I snatched that canteen out of Nick's hands, poor Nick. And I ran to Caleb and I gave him the water bottle. And his eyes were rolling to the back of his head. I mean, it was the craziest thing I ever saw. And I knew that's when I actually screamed for Jeff. I was like, Jeff, get over here. And at that time, there were 2 other people that went down because it was so hot. So 2 other people had heat stroke, where actually Caleb, his kidney and his liver actually started failing right there without any water. So I kept screaming Jeff, and then I might have threw a curse word in there. And I said, Jeff, get the blank over here right now. And he ran over, and the doctor ran over, and they realized we had a serious situation. Serious situation. So I remember Caleb's legs went up on the doctor, and we were throwing water on him, and the helicopter came, and that was when you saw Jeff get up and realize we are so dehydrated. We're in Cambodia. It's 120 degrees. It feels like outside. We're not drinking water. We're super thirsty. And let me tell you that this is why I love the show. It's so authentic. You don't have you don't have the producers saying, here's some water, guys, here's some candy bars, here's, salads and foods and snacks. No, if you don't find food or catch food or win food, you don't eat, right? We ran out of food. We were eating snails. We were eating other stuff, whatever you can find, mollusks, and mussels and stuff, which I love, but some of the guys didn't eat it. So we really are starving. And if you don't have enough water, well, that's your problem. If you go down, that's your problem. So that was when Jeff realized we are so dehydrated and they need to stop messing around because this is super dangerous. If someone dies, like Caleb actually could have died. That was the closest, I'll tell you this little inside secret. That was the closest to Survivor ever being over. And now it's close to being over too with how woke it is. But if he would have died, it would have been the end of the show. He was this close. He was actually in the hospital, he told me, for about 4 days. And the doctor said, even your cells even between the cells are so dehydrated. I mean, his kidney and his liver started failing. So anyways, that is that. Let me talk to you about some Survivor lingo. And by the grace of God, he didn't die. Thank you, Jesus. And I forgot to say, and then that's when Jeff was like, I need all the staff to grab water bottles and give everybody water. And so they ran. That's when you saw all of the staff was on season 32. So let's talk about some Survivor lingo. Some things that, the producers told us before we started the show. Hey, from Oklahoma, been following about a year. Well, God bless you. Amen. Yep. So Survivor lingo, you're going to hear something called coconut tree. 3 things, actually. You'll hear coconut tree, coconut grove, and I'm going on a walk. Does anybody know what those are? We are live, so I'm happy to pull up your comments. Anyone know? Anyone a massive Survivor fan? And dig into this lingo. It's very subtle, but this is just some ways that we communicate with one another and the producers around us just to make sure we're on the same page. Because coconut tree, actually, I'll start with coconut grove. Because, sometimes when you say, oh, I got to go to the bathroom, it kind of, when you're watching the show, it's it kind of throws you up. Is there toilets? No, there are no toilets, right? Just FYI, by the way, the camera's rolling 24/7, right? 24/7. There's about 2-3 camera crews of about 3 people, right? You have the camera guy, you have the producer writing stuff, and you have like the microphone guy. And there's usually 2 sets of those on each island. So there's 3 teams on my show, right? 3 tribes on my show. I thought I was going to be on the brains tribe, to be honest with you. I ended up being on the beauty tribe, but it worked in my favor because I wanted to pretend I, wasn't into game theory and stuff. So I was glad to be on the beauty tribe. But this is actually some of my favorite people, amen, from the show. But so what was I saying? Different tribes. Yeah, there's 2 different camera crews on each beach, on each tribe. When you walk away alone, the cameras don't follow you because they assume that you are going to the bathroom. And our code word for going to the bathroom is Coconut Grove. So if you hear on the show Coconut Grove and you're like, what's that? That actually means we're going to the bathroom. Where do people go to the bathroom? And I want you guys to answer this. Where do you think people go to the bathroom? He said pooping. Yes, Coconut Grove is we're going to pee or poo. Okay, we all do it. We all have, we all got to go, right? So most people, I will be honest with you, this shocked me. I would say 95% of the contestants went to pee, obviously in the ocean, right? That was easy. But most people actually pooed in the ocean as well because you don't have toilets, right? I was the only one on the whole show, from what I understand, that didn't go number 2 in the ocean. I was like, are you guys crazy? Are you serious? And they were like, all telling my whole team, they're like, you have to go. It's like so amazing. I was like, doesn't your butt burn? I mean, it's like a beach. It's an ocean with salt water. I didn't want to try it. I said, if it works for you, great. But I actually went to go by the back where the water is. And so I would go, on like a leaf, sorry to be TMI, but then I would just use the water that's rushing by to wash my bum, right? Because we don't have toilet paper. You guys, we don't have toothpaste. We don't have toilet paper. We don't have deodorant. We don't have bug spray, which is all shampoo, conditioner, soap. We don't have any of that. We don't have toothpaste, toothbrush. Let me ask you another question. How do we brush our teeth? How do we brush our teeth? If we don't have a toothpaste, if we don't have a toothbrush, how do you think we brush our teeth and get the plaque off? I want to put that in the comments, see if anyone gets it. But yeah, there's no toilet paper. There's no bath towels. Like we would wash our hair in the salt water. I mean, and actually it was about, I think 4 or 5 days into it where I couldn't even put my hand at all through my hair like that because it was so knotted and it was so salty. Like we would have spa days in the ocean. We would line up when we didn't really have it. You're together, by the way, 24/7, right? A lot of what we do throughout the day is not on camera. It's not on the show. It's not. There's a lot of downtime. There's no TV, right? You're just talking. You're really getting to know one another. So we would have try to have some fun. We're like, all right, let's have spa day. So we went in the ocean. We had a spa day. What did it look like? Well, we lined up in a line and we all had it backs to each other and we would, take the sand and scrub each other. We would kind of do a massage, just something kind of fun, get the back a little bit. But you come out of the ocean after your bath and spa time and you're super salty. I mean, you're salty. Another thing too with our clothes, you'd wash your clothes in the morning and it's salty and whatever, but you can disinfect it at least, but you want to wash it in the morning because at night it gets cold. And if you want to put on those socks to go to bed, you want to make sure they're dry. Otherwise, you're going to be freezing at night. Russell Hance, as you guys know, threw those socks in the fire to mess with his team psychologically. I didn't do that, and no one on my tribe did that, thank God, but it's an interesting strategy for sure. How do you guys think we brushed our teeth? Charcoal for good teeth. Amen. I use charcoal as well. I have a toothbrush and at home, and I also have charcoal, but we don't have charcoal on the show. So how rinse our teeth with salt water? Okay, this is live. Yes, I am live. Jesus is the truth, the way, and the life. Amen. I am live. Sand, wood, toothpicks. Okay, where would you get a toothpick? Where someone got it. I see it. Salt water. Yeah. We don't have any toothpicks, right? We only have what we find or we make on the show. So for example, we actually made a little, kind of a spoon out of wood. We use that. If we found, if you guys missed it before, if we find a little fish hook, we're not allowed to use it. If we find a little fish hook and some string for floss, the producers take it away. You either have to make it or win it on the show. So we didn't have toothpicks and we didn't have time to make that. We made, a fire, we made shelter. By the way, we made a roof. We took the palm trees and we weaved it together. A lot of us actually researched a lot of survival skills before we got out there. Me specifically, I actually did a whole survival course and I learned how to make fire at my friend's living room. She's a survival expert. So I learned a lot. I learned how to make different knots, different fishing knots and stuff like that before I got out there. We actually were the only team on the show to make fire. The beauty tribe made fire. Who knew? So praise God. We used our finger. David DeWan, you're right. We used our finger. What we did was we went in the ocean, took some sand and brushed our teeth, try to take off as much plaque as we can with our finger using sand. Yes, we used salt water to wash our mouth. So that was our Listerine. And we were living the elements. That's why I love the show in its integrity. It really is free for all. It really is a reality show in that way. It is. Let me do my teacup again. Sorry, I lost focus because I move my hands a lot. Okay. Okay, so let's go back to lingo. So we know Coconut Grove means bathroom. If you hear us say coconut tree, anyone know what that is? Coconut tree. Coconut tree is actually the box of essentials. That is, for example, we can't take deodorant, we can't take toothpaste, we cannot take, mosquito repellent, but we could take, if you need a retainer, I had a retainer, I needed contact lenses, you can bring that. That's no problem. That is part of your necessities. And also it was also the medical box where it's really in the medical box, it's not Band-Aids. It's just this hand sanitizer to disinfect any open wounds because you're living outside. There's a lot of different bacteria, a lot of different things that live outside, especially in a different country. I'm just going to again unfocus this. Okay. Or focus it. So there's a lot of different bugs. So we had alcohol, like hand sanitizer. And that was actually very beneficial because so many of us started getting infected and we had to use salt water, obviously, and also the hand sanitizer to clean it out. So coconut tree, when I say, hey guys, I'm going to coconut tree, it means I need something in there essential. I need either to wipe a wound or I need my, change my contact lenses or, my retainer. And also, by the way, feminine hygiene, right? Women, once a month, we have our thing. So our stuff is in there. And by the way, our stuff is in a plastic Ziploc bag and it'll say like my name's Anna, like on Julia's Ziploc bag, it's her name and Michelle had her name. So everything was see-through. So all of the producers and also our contestants, our colleagues on the show, they knew we weren't hiding anything. We didn't have any floss. We didn't have, mosquito repellent. Everything was for everyone to see what's in our bag. So, tampons, pads, retainer, contact lenses. That's what you can see in the coconut tree. Okay. Another thing that you'll see on the show and you'll hear on the show very often, people don't actually know this little thing. It's I'm going on a walk. Anyone know what that is? I'll look at your comments right now. I'm live, you guys. So this is why I wanted to do live. And you pronounce my name properly. Well, praise God. Yes. Medication, Paco Man. Exactly. In coconut tree, you can have your medication. If you have diabetes, you can have your insulin. If you have, heart medicine, you may not be on the show if you need like significant heart medicine, but sounds like you're ready to do it again. I honestly don't think I would go back. I would to compete. I love competing. I love the show. I don't think I would go back because most of them are very liberal and they don't like me. So there's no point. They would take me out first and that's not fun. So. Yeah. Did I have to eat any bugs? I will get to the questions in a little bit. I'm going to actually mark you as a star. Did I eat any bugs? I did not. What we ate, the craziest thing I ate was a snail. We just boil snails. Again, also on the show, I'm going to star your comments on my end. So I make sure to get your questions answered. The worst thing I ate was a snail. We didn't have any salt, pepper, or spices unless you win it. So you're just kind of boiling things and a lot of stuff is just chewy, but it's protein and you eat it. And it's great. So, and actually it's kind of mortifying for me watching the first few episodes of the show for me, because I actually gained about 10 pounds before getting on the show. I had my going away party. I had a bunch of friends over. We had a big party and I had 3 friends come up to me and say, you are too skinny. You have to gain weight for the show. You're going to die out there. And they were so right. I'm just going to try to focus the camera again. They were spot on right. I gained about 8 to 10 pounds. I just kept eating and not doing my regular exercise. And when I got on the show, that fat went quick. I lost about 14 pounds in 13 days. And I'm glad I had that extra cushion because I would have been I don't know, like a skeleton on there. I mean, I already almost looked like a skeleton at the end and it was rough to watch it back. But anyways, what is going on a walk? So, you know how we are interviewed on the show, right? So you have so this is kind of what it looks like. Cameras are rolling 24/7. You're with the crew. You're just hanging out. You're talking. Sometimes you're strategizing. Sometimes you're looking for a hidden immunity idol. I saw your comment there about the hidden immunity idol. Yes. So if I go to the bathroom, I say, hey, I'm going to Coconut Grove bathroom. So the producers know and the camera know, don't follow me. You don't want to get this on camera and you don't want to watch. So I'll go, the bathroom. But sometimes you don't even have to say that. If you're walking by yourself, they'll assume you're going to the bathroom. If you walk away with 2 people, cameras will follow. Now, the only time they will follow you if you're one person walking away, they tell you, let us know if you're going to look for an immunity idol. We will follow with you. So I would give them a sign. I'm going to go look for an idol. The camera crew would follow me. I would make sure no one's watching because it's too obvious. If you got a whole camera crew following and you're by yourself, right? So you want to be kind of careful. But honestly, watching the show, you're thinking, why did this person go away by themselves? Are you guys not paying attention? And we spend so much time together. Sometimes that kind of flies out the window. Like you were like, wait a second, where where's Ty? And I'm watching the show, and if he took like 4 hours a day to look for an idol. But when you're with each other 24/7, it's nice to have a little break. You have to remind yourself, hey, by the way, this is a game. He's probably looking for an idol. And I caught him. And you saw in the clip, I caught him. And I knew something was, he's looking for it. I didn't think he found it. But to my surprise, he did. And I was happy for him. And he was supposed to save me. But Scott Pollard told him last minute, don't give me an idol. So that's why I was off the show. Ty was going to give it to me and I was going to stay. But it was God's will for me to go home that night. Anyway, going on a walk is the last Survivor lingo I will talk about. It's the one you'll hear the most on the show. When I say, hey guys, I'm going on a walk, that means I'm going to be interviewed. Because, for example, if let's say we're having an intense conversation about strategy and someone goes, hey guys, I'm going to go get interviewed, it disrupts the show. But if you say, hey, I'm going on a walk, totally normal. It doesn't throw off the game. It doesn't throw off the show. It's really meant for the viewers at home, not to be thrown out going in an interview. So it was very smart to do that. So whenever you hear someone say, I'm going on a walk, they're going alone to be interviewed for the show. And we get interviewed almost every day. Sometimes if it's a really down day, they won't. But sometimes they'll still catch up with you. Hey, I remember the producers came up and asked me, they said, hey, do you want to, I don't know why I did this. I shouldn't have done it. Because I look back and I'm mortified. They came up to me and they said, hey, would you want to do an interview laying down, like sideways? We've never had anyone do like a sideways shot. Can you go in the water and dunk yourself and wet your hair? And I was like, ah! And I thought, I was like, in the world, I wasn't saved. I was like, sure, why not? So I wet my hair, went and laid on the side, and it was mortifying to watch because I gained like 8 pounds before going on the show. And so I'm looking at myself and I'm sideways. You got all the rolls. Anyway, shout out to all the rolls out there, but not to shame anyone. For me, I'm mortified watching it. It's supposed to be like a sexy scene and it was not. So anyway, I wish I didn't do that. But again, guys, this is BC before I met Jesus and repented of my ways. But so being interviewed, it's super easy. They just ask you about your day, ask if your strategy has changed. And that's basically it. That's really all I can kind of say. And that's really all they did was just ask. So that's going over the poker lingo. People ask me, what is the hardest thing on the show? What is the hardest part of your experience on Survivor? This is a great question. The hardest part of the show is, for me, I'll talk for myself, evening, the nighttime. Nighttime is the hardest by far. Why? Because during the day, it's a beautiful day. We learned pretty much the first day, put on sunscreen. That is actually one of the only things they do give you. They give you in the coconut tree medical area, you have, hand sanitizer to sanitize your wounds, but they also have suntan lotion. We got burned pretty quick the first 2 days and we realized we have to wear sunscreen because we're on the beach and we're in the elements and we need sunscreen. It's really hot out here. And so we all got pretty tanned. We got pretty burned at first and then we got tan. And then anyway, so we used it. But I wish they had mosquito repellent. That's something that they don't give on the show, which I wish they did because that was the worst part. Evening time because of the bugs, the mosquitoes. Before we got out there, the producers let us know that there was a malaria outbreak about a few hours away from our island a month ago. And we're like, what? Malaria? You mean it's a 50% survival rate? We don't want to get malaria. So they actually, from what I remember, they gave us little pills. I think it was hydrochloroquine, funny enough. And that's against parasites and malaria. So we would eat it on an empty stomach in the morning, one pill every day. And honestly, on an empty stomach, it wasn't good. But what are you going to do? You don't want to get malaria out there. And it doesn't cure malaria. It just shows your symptoms quick. So if you do have any symptoms, you're right away taken to the hospital. So thankfully, no one on our show got malaria. So that was another thing. But the bugs. There was one person on the show. By the way, my whole body was covered with mosquito bites. A few reasons why. Number one, I think I have sweet blood. Number two, I was the only dodo head on the whole show to wear shorts. That's right. Everyone else had pants. And I wish I would have listened to my ex-boyfriend's mother, who I love dearly. She's still very close with her. She told me before I got on the show, are you going to bring shorts? Why are you not wearing pants? You're going to be cold. And I said, Susan, if I wear pants, and it's really hot, I'm going to be running around in my underwear, and I don't want to run around in my underwear. I'm going to run around in my shorts. I would rather be cold than run around in my underwear. Guess what happens when you're in Cambodia and it's 120 degrees? Everyone's running around in their underwear or swimming trunks or whatever. I mean, it's just too hot to even wear shorts. So I barely even wore them anyway. And at night, man, I wish I had my pants because it was warm during the day and cold at night, and the mosquitoes. So here's the experience at night. And this is why it's so bad. And and this is interesting little part of the experience. It was the most important, worst part of the experience. You had a long day. You had a long day of strategy. Your mind is going and you want to get some sleep. You go in bed, and what does your bed look like? Your bed is made of bamboo. Your bed is very hard. You're laying on your bed and it's not comfortable. All the bamboos are different sizes. You have about, sometimes an inch, sometimes a few centimeters distance between the bamboos. So you're trying to find a comfortable crevice to plop yourself on. And actually something that God gave me this idea, and praise the Lord, I realized we can actually make a little bit of a mattress using coconut husk. So around the coconuts, there's this husk, this soft kind of stuff. And so we won some mattresses, well, some pads, not really a pad. It's more like a thin, just, I don't even know how to explain it. Like a little, it wasn't a pad, but it was just a rough material where you can kind of just sit on, basically. No padding at all. So what I did was I put the coconut husk in between all of the bamboo, and I put this cover on it, and it kind of did a little bit of a pillow and a little bit of comfort, tiny bit, but we can sense the difference. For us, it was a big difference, but it was very, very tiny difference. And I remember producers saying, no one ever thought of that. No one ever did that before. So coconut husk, for anyone that wants to get on the show, that's a really good tip to make a little bit of a pillow and a little bit of padding. But anyway, even with a little bit of padding, it was so uncomfortable. So you're trying to find a comfortable spot. You finally find one. I'm in my shorts. So I'm cold. The first night, it started raining. The first night, it was raining. So we were actually freezing that first night. It was it was the first day. And then it was like sunny for the next 2 weeks. And it was great. I didn't really experience much rain except the first night. The first night we were soaked, and we barely made a roof, right? We made the roof with the palm tree so the water can kind of go down the palm tree. But what happens is you still have crevices in the palm tree, so the water comes right through, right? You don't have a tarp unless you win a tarp. That's why, by the way, a tarp to win on the show. I know I'm going to all these different places, you guys. I hope you guys following me, because there's a lot I'm covering pretty quickly. Okay. The tarp is the biggest and best thing to win on the show because that gets the rain out. So tarp, fishing gear, by far the biggest wins. That's what you want to win. I don't care. Coffee's nice and food is nice, but I would rather have a dry place to sleep. I can fast for a few days or a few weeks. That's fine. Okay, you love it. Good. Can you sleep on sand? That is a great, great question. I'm going to get to all your questions. I'm almost done with I'm going to jump on this one first. Excellent question. Now, if you ever take any survival course, or if you don't, take my advice here. You never ever want to sleep on the surface by the beach. People do, homeless people do, obviously, but you never want to. Why? Because there's crabs walking around. There's all different bugs. And in Cambodia, there were these nasty little critters walking around, scorpions. I didn't see any scorpions, but you never want to sleep on the surface. You always recommended when you build shelter to build it little bit off the ground, maybe let's say a foot or even half a foot, something. Because here's what happened on the show. I don't want to spoil it. I don't want to spoil my show because it's actually it's going to be on Netflix, I think in a month or two. They said in February. Or February, March. Season 32 is going to be on Netflix. So I don't want to spoil it if you didn't watch my season. But if you watch season 32, you will see, I'm not going to say who it was, you will see one of the contestants not abide by wisdom. They decided, nope, I'm going to sleep on the sand. I'm going to actually sleep on the big blow up boat on the sand. Bad idea. She got a little worm in her ear and she was screaming in pain. And people on her tribe did not believe her. They thought that she was lying and that she was crazy. And they took her out. But she wasn't lying. She wasn't crazy. She actually had a bug in her ear. You never want to sleep on the sand. You want to have an elevation. So hope that answers the question. And that was one of the weirdest things to watch on the show. It's like, oh, yeah, sand, please. Yep. Another thing too on the sand, you want to sit on some kind of shirt or sweater or whatever you can find or whatever you win, because Cambodia, the beaches actually had sand fleas. They had sand fleas. So the sand fleas would bite. It would feel like someone pinching you, like all over your butt. I mean, I'm sitting on the sand. I'm like, I feel like 10 people pinched my butt. And it hurt. It was like a little tiny, but imagine like 10, 20 of them at the same time. It's painful. So sand fleas are a real thing, especially where we were. Bugs, snakes. So I'm glad you mentioned snake. I know some people are like, this is horrific. Why would you ever go on the show? Well, because I love challenging myself, especially, even, when I was in the world, I love challenging my body, my mind. I wanted to challenge myself. First, I love the show. So I want to play because I thought I could win. I was 100% sure I could win. I loved competition, but I also love challenging myself, my body, my mental acuity, everything. I wanted to challenge my psychological abilities. So when I was in the world, now I understand it was discernment, right? Discerning spirits, discerning light, discerning just discernment of people's, human nature and also demonic spirits. But anyway, I digress. But I really wanted to challenge my body because I wouldn't say I was a super pro athlete, but I played a lot of handball. I was very good athletically. I played all sports growing up. And I always challenged my body fasting. Before even I knew Jesus, I would do intermediate fasting. I would take days where, I would eat a little bit. I would eat nothing all day and just 2-3 days and just build up my body even before Survivor. So I was able to be there mentally because, I already had training. So I wanted to challenge myself not sleeping because really on Survivor, you're really barely sleeping. So the nighttime was the worst, you guys. Let me wrap that up. Nighttime was the worst. Yeah, he said that's hectic. Yeah, it was crazy. Nighttime was the worst. Why? Because you finally find a position where you're comfortable, which is not really comfortable. And this is what you hear all night long. Bzzz, thousands of them. Thousands. You can actually legitimately go crazy. I'm not kidding. You can legitimately go crazy. So it's like, bzzz, and here I am in my shorts. Everyone is fast asleep because they got their pants on. They got their sweater to cover them. So I have my sweater on my legs and I'm just trying to kill as many mosquitoes on my arms. I barely slept. I finally fell asleep and you can just imagine mosquitoes are just bzzz, everywhere, biting you everywhere. And eventually you fall asleep. The best part of the show was waking up. The best part of the show was when we open our eyes, it's so quiet. I look at the beach right in front of us. It's so beautiful. The sun is coming up and it's paradise. It was so beautiful. It was so quiet, beautiful, calm. I'm looking at my teammates. Some of them are already up making breakfast. Some of them are sleeping. It was the best part of the show was, I feel the presence of God, was waking up in that beautiful, beautiful paradise because it really is super beautiful there. Super beautiful. So I also talked about Survivor filming 2 seasons back to back. There's a reason for it too. Remember I was talking about there's so much money that goes into pre-production, 20 million pre-production. I mean, you have helicopters flying around and all the whole challenge course. The reason why they do it back to back is to save money, right? Because imagine having different islands every year. It's expensive. Oh, actually they do 2 seasons a year. So it'd be really expensive. So they film back to back. They filmed my season. Then everyone went home, 2-week break. And then the second season would come. And so they would name it different. So, season 31 is Cambodia. Season 32 was an island in Cambodia, which is Koh Rong. That's one of the islands there. That's why they named it Koh Rong. So for example, Fiji, when they film in Fiji, 2 seasons will be filmed in Fiji. One will be called Fiji. One will be called an island in Fiji or whatever other name they want to name it. So that's something as well. Okay, let me go to your comments and questions. Buffs over your head and face. Yes, I use my buff. I use it as a shirt on the show. And then especially when I'm sleeping, it would cover my neck and my face at least a little bit. So I didn't want to get mosquito bites on my face. And I did. I had a few on my face. But I remember a producer saying, you have so many bug bites, Anna. Like I've always attracted mosquitoes and I don't understand why. They tell their friends. And so they come. And I was swarmed. I mean, I literally, all my friends are sleeping and here I am chewed up alive and I had shorts on. It was horrible. It was so horrible. So the producer the next morning was like, can we take a video of your bug bites? I said, sure. I even picked up the back of my shirt to show them my whole body, except my face. Most of my face was fine. You couldn't even find, I kid you not, a millimeter on my skin. My hands were not bad, but every part of my body, you couldn't find a millimeter where there was not a mosquito bite. And I am not exaggerating. I am not exaggerating. The worst part of the show was the mosquitoes. Trust me. Find an alternative. Find something smart to fight it. And I'll give you actually a really interesting little insight. If you ever get on the show, if you ever do Survivor, or if you ever go camping, here's an amazing piece of advice that I found out after the show. And I wish I knew before the show. There was one girl in the whole season didn't have a mosquito bite. She actually had one or two. Her whole body was not covered. She literally had 2 mosquito bites. And it was Alicia Holden. It was a dear friend. She was on the Braun tribe. And we were off the show. We were hanging out in Ponderosa and we were just hanging out. And I look at her and I go, girl, how in the world do you have 2 mosquito bites? And she started laughing. I said, wait a second. What did you do? How did you do this? Did you have secret mosquito repellent? Because they check everything before we get on the show. We don't carry anything on. And if we would use it, they would see it. So I said, what did you do? She starts laughing. She goes, my dad told me there was going to be bugs out here and mosquitoes. So he told me, listen to this. I'm trying to remember the exact number, either 6 pills or 12 pills a day. I think it was 6 pills she took every day. She ate 2 weeks before the show started. 6, I think it was 6 or 12. I don't remember the number, but we'll say 6. 6 garlic pills a day for 2 weeks before the show. 6 garlic pills a day, 2 weeks total before the show. When she got on the show, her pores, I didn't smell garlic on her, I didn't. I'm sure she probably did, but we didn't notice it because we're outside. So, but the mosquitoes, when they would put their little thing in there, they would be like, oh no, this girl tastes terrible. They hate garlic. So this girl had 2 bug bites. And I felt honestly like an idiot for not knowing that before I got on the show. So garlic is an amazing tip if you go camping, or if you go on Survivor, or if you go on Naked and Afraid, if you go on the show Alone on Netflix, garlic pills. I wish I would have known that, man. I was so jealous when she told me that. I was like, seriously? Oh my goodness. So, but it's not on the blood because I'm not a jealous person, but I was like, dang, that's really smart. Such a good tip. Is Jeff nice and friendly? He is. Jeff is super sweet. Jeff is all in on the show. Like even when you're filming the show behind the scenes, when we get to an obstacle course, Jeff Probst is walking around. He's making sure he is so involved in the show, beginning, middle, and end, behind the scenes, in front of the scenes, even during the obstacles. He's looking. He actually, what happens is before we do an obstacle course, he'll walk each tribe one by one. He'll take us and show us what we're going to be doing, just kind of understand where we're going to go, what it looks like. They're not going to give us any hints, but they show us where we're going to run and, kind of like the trail and what we're meant to do and what we're supposed to find. So he explains it on the show as well when we're all standing there, but he does it privately with us as well. So he explains it first on the mat, then, cameras turn off. They're getting ready in their new position and he shows us what we're doing just in case we missed anything. And then, so he's super involved beginning to end. He loves the show. He is all in and he's a really, really nice person. From what I heard, he's got his own little mansion on the island. He deserves it, but my goodness, we wish we had a mansion. We were living on the beach. You were in such a good position. If only, yeah, I know. The tribe swap screwed up my game big time. The tribe was going, I thought I was going to win the million. I mean, we were coasting, we were winning. Beauty tribe was kicking butt. We kept winning and winning. I don't want to spoil anything for those that do want to watch the show. But I don't say this because I was on my season, but I'm telling you, out of all the seasons I've watched, I love Samoa. I love Heroes versus Villains. I loved a lot of the, comeback shows with Russell Hantz and Boston Rob and such great seasons of Survivor. My gosh, there's so many. But there were some shows that were but season 32, my season was one of the best. And I'm not just saying that, it was one of the best that I even watched, the twists and turns and what they did. And it was a big twist in the game as well. And it was really, really good. I watched a little bit of the season after me, and it was nothing special. It honestly got kind of boring and I stopped watching. I don't watch it anymore. Yes, the garlic. Speaking of smelling like things, right? She smelled like garlic, I'm sure. I didn't notice it. No one else noticed. I don't think anyone else noticed it. But funny other experience thing that you see behind the scenes is this. When we first start the show, right? When we were living on different islands, right? So the Beauty tribe is on one island, the Brawn tribe is on another island, and the Brains tribe is on another island. We're not far away, but you have to take a little boat to each island, right? They also took a boat to pick us up to go to the different obstacle courses on the other islands. They were building all these obstacles. So there was a lot of islands where they were using. So that's why, again, the pre-production is a lot of money. So when we first started the show and we were being transported from one island to the obstacle course, the producers were hanging out with us. It was a tiny, tiny, tiny little boat. We were inside. We were not allowed to go outside because we couldn't see. They have a lot of integrity. We're not allowed to see the other tribe, beaches. We're not allowed to see the other obstacle courses. So they keep us inside. But there's one little door, to get the fresh air in. And so usually a producer's kind of blocking it. And when we first started the show, the producers were kind of hanging out with us in the boat, like on the way to the island, just talking and how we're doing and talking about our bug bites, stuff that's really like off camera conversation. After about, I would say maybe 4 or 5 days, we started noticing that none of the producers went inside the little tiny boat with us. They were all outside talking to us by the door. And we eventually asked them, why are you guys not in here talking to us? Why are you guys like 10 feet away by the door? And they go, you guys have no idea how bad you smell. Yes, living outside, washing yourself with no toothpaste, no soap, in the ocean with salt water, you start to smell. So, and we didn't notice it until they told us that. And then I started realizing, oh my goodness, no deodorant, right? So you just smell and you can't wash your clothes and you're washing it in salt water and it doesn't do any, maybe disinfects a little bit, but man, we smelled. I honestly didn't notice the BO and the breath. It was more like clothes and when we came home and I smelled my clothes when I got home, it's this very specific odor. And I actually can recognize it now. And this is why I bless any homeless person I literally ever meet, because I instantly smell that smell. It's because I haven't washed in a long time. And it's BO, but it's also, it's just dirty clothes that you just don't wash. It's a very specific odor. And that's what we smelled like. We smelled like, living outside. So we were homeless. We were living in the elements. So it's a very particular odor and it smells terrible. So anyway, bless those that live outside because it's not easy. So it wasn't like BO. It's just specific. It's the smell on our clothes, which is a mix of BO basically, but it's hand sanitizer, deodorant. Wait, I didn't do that. That would be smart because obviously the odor under your armpits it's really the bacteria that live under there. So hand sanitizer or alcohol would kill it. Salt water should clean. Yes, of course it can disinfect it, but it's not going to clean out the smell. Did anyone smell good or bad to you? After the producer told us that we smell, that was when I started noticing it. When they said that, I go, we're inside the boat and we all go, oh my God, we do smell. And we started laughing. We didn't notice it until they told us. And we realized, oh my goodness, we smell like we didn't shower for a month. And we've been here for 4 days outside. And it got worse. So the longer you're on the show, the farther the producer will be from you. And I kid you not, they start moving away from you because you really do smell. Another thing too, which I loved about the camera crew, I'll give a shout out to the camera crew. They're so amazing. They are not mean, meaning like I've seen it one time, a little guy just put a little candy in his mouth. And I was like, really? Are you going to share any? And he's like, I'm sorry, I can't. Like they could if they want to. Like they can eat beef jerky like in front of you and you're starving. But the camera crew, the crew are so sweet. They don't do that. They're very respectful. If they want to eat a snack, they'll walk away from us because again, we're starving out there. You know, we're burning so many calories by walking and getting water. Like this is the experience too. You have your shelter where you have your ocean to wash yourself. You have Coconut Grove, which no one ever used. Coconut Grove was the ocean, right? Which is the bathroom for those that just joined us. You have Coconut Tree not far away. Maybe I would say like 30 yards away, hidden in the bushes. And then you have the water well. This is not something I'm going to talk about too. Very good to know. And also if you're going to do the show, a really good tip, the water well, which is, I kid you not, about half a mile away. It's a decent walk. And when I did the show for the first time, right, I only did it once, but I didn't know that the water in the well is filtered because I watched all of the old shows from the beginning again. Before I got on the show, I rewatched a lot of the seasons. I think I got up to season 15 before I did my season. And people were getting sick from drinking the water in the well because there were parasites in there and it wasn't filtered and it wasn't boiled. So I didn't realize this was the guys on my team. They kept drinking right out of the well. And I told them, you guys are crazy because if there's parasites in there and there's bacteria, you're out of the show. It's not worth it. I would rather carry it all the way back, even though I'm super thirsty. We would bring the water all the way back and boil it. Somehow somehow the guys found out that all the water's filtered. They no longer do that. They actually filtered water. You can actually drink right from the well. I didn't know that. So we carried the water all the way back. We put it in the stupid, disgusting black pot. You put the water in there, you boil it, and all the little black flakes on the pot would go in the water. It was black water. Definitely was not healthy. Definitely some carcinogens in there. And the water tasted terrible. And it was hot water. So I wish the guys would have told the girls, that was so mean. We were on the same team. Anyways, so that part was also not easy. The water, we were so thirsty and it was hot water and it tasted disgusting. So I wish we would have known. Anyway, it's filtered. If you do the show, the water in the wells, from what I know, are filtered. That's why you can drink it from the well. Anyways, so at least the guys knew that because we needed the men. The men were strong. Anyway, any other questions? Just put your questions in here. And one quick thing I forgot to mention. In the audition process, I deleted that little banner. In the audition process, we actually meet with a psychologist to test are we loco? Are we crazy? Are we going to snap because we're thirsty and sleep deprived? And are we going to take the machete and kill somebody? They want to make sure you're not crazy. They want to make sure you're not schizophrenic. They want to make sure you're not super insane, where if you don't have food, you're going to go nuts. So, and waste a spot because you'd waste a spot. Someone else could have been in your spot and be normal. So anyway, one of the things that really surprised me in the audition process, I'll be honest with you, was when one of the last days, actually, no, it was one of the first days we got there. One of the first days, maybe the second or third day, we all had a psychology, I don't want to say test, but it was a psychology questionnaire. It took 3 to 4 hours. It was the longest questionnaire I've ever answered. I kid you not, 3-4 hours. And I remember thinking the entire time, I'm doing this questionnaire, like, what would you do in this situation? What would you do in that situation? And as I'm answering this questionnaire, I thought, this is the most ridiculous waste of time. How are they ever going to know anything about me? These questions are so stupid. Kid you not, that's what I thought. I'm thinking, There's no way they're going to know anything about me. I was shocked. Because the next morning we met with the psychologist, and there was, the main psychologist and her colleague and her, co-psychologist, 3 people that sit you down to go over your results. And I went in there super skeptical. Even though I studied psychology in college, I thought these are the dumbest questions. How are they going to know anything? So here I am. They look at me and they said, we're going to be honest with you. You're probably going to get on the show. And to be frank with you, I knew from the moment they called me, I know it was God. I knew I was going to get on the show. Even though I was like in here, I was nervous, and I'm thinking there's hundreds of people, Anna. First of all, hundreds of thousands of people trying out every year for Survivor. Hundreds of thousands of people try out every year for Survivor. Okay, there are a few hundred people going to final casting calls. Hundreds of people. They're going to cast only 18 people on the show. Probably about 15 people, maybe 2 or 3 celebrities. So very small chance, but I knew deep down I was going to get on the show. I knew it. But I was still nervous. But anyway, the psychologist goes, let me show you something, and I'll tell you why you're probably going to get on the show, and you're a perfect candidate for the show. I go, why? She started going through my personality, and I'm thinking, dang, how did you know that from a stupid test? I mean, I told her that. I was like, how did you know that from a stupid test? This is what she showed me. She showed me a little graph. She said, if you can see it, let me make it a little darker. So she showed me this little graph. She said, okay, this is a normal person's energy. So, this is their energy level for a normal person. When they go out and film the show Survivor and they're starving and they're sleep deprived, their energy level drops. So this is their energy level here, being lethargic on the show. It'll drop to here. Your energy level naturally, and people ask me, like, how do you have so much energy? I have a lot of energy. I don't know. It's by God's grace. They said your energy level is, I pointed to this imaginary line here. You have a lot of energy. And when you're going to be lethargic and tired and sleep deprived and hungry, your energy is going to be normal. And they started laughing, and I was hysterically laughing because that's so true. I have a lot of energy by God's grace. I don't know where it comes from. I can't even imagine doing drugs. I would be off the wall, or too much caffeine. I'm off the walls. You know what I mean? I can't even imagine myself on hyper amount of coffee. Cause I already have so much natural energy by God's grace. You know what I mean? So, that's when they said, Anna, and by the way, this is real, because when I was on the show, I looked at my tribe, and this is about 3-4 days in, and we're not eating much. Most of the people, like the girls and even Nick, all the guys were like this. I remember looking at them, and they look like lethargic, dead fish. They look like just kind of flopping around and just laying down. They were so tired and so lethargic. And even Jeff told us, when we first start, we're all running. And then the next in 3 days, when we do another obstacle course, it's like we're walking, walking fast, kind of like a sprint, almost a sprint. And then as the show progresses, we're walking even slower, to the point where we're not even jogging, we're walking, because we're so tired, because it's exhausting to be when you're not eating and you have a course and you're running in water and you're diving and you're getting this and you got to pick this up and then run in the woods to get another. And then you got to do a puzzle. It's super, super, super exhausting, and you're not eating already, even though you're laying around on the beach. It's tiring. So I noticed that about 3 days in. I was looking, I'm like, who's going to get water, guys? Who wants to go to the water well? And they were looking at me like, are you nuts? We're exhausted. So I had a lot of energy, and I'm glad the psychologist told me that, because I was super calm knowing, okay, I'll probably get on the show. So that's another little tidbit. Have a lot of energy. And I don't know, somehow the psychology test thing knew that. I was shocked. I was really shocked. So hey, I'm open to questions now. Let me go through some of your old questions here. Not old, but stuff that you listed here that I wouldn't be able to survive. Yeah, it's not for everybody. It is not as easy as it looks. People say, oh, it would be easy. No. Do a little test run, sleep in the woods for a little bit. But it's a lot of it's mental too, as well. A lot of it is mental, and by the grace of God, you can do it. I'm looking at your questions. I know I wear very, I don't use a lot of the sunblocks in the store have a lot of carcinogens in there, a lot of cancer causing stuff. So I actually use coconut oil. I have a really good brand that doesn't have any of the chemicals in it. I wish I can find it for you, but I'll hopefully have it on the show later, like another time, which sunscreen I recommend. There's a lot of sunscreen that have cancer stuff in it. When the show ended, did you go all eat to buffet? Yes. So yes, that was the best part about being off the show. So I'll talk about that experience real quick. When I got my torch snuffed and Jeff said, Anna, the tribe has spoken. First of all, that was the most devastating moment of the show. I was shocked. I was heartbroken. I remember they took me to the back while everyone else left. I'm sitting in this little tent and I'm shocked. Like I knew I had a 50% chance of going home, but still I was shocked. I was thinking, man, I thought Ty was going to save me. I don't want to ruin it, but I was in shock. And I was just sitting there and processing. On the one hand, I was happy I was going to eat. I wanted peanut butter, which is a lot of people crave on the show is peanut butter because it's protein. I was just, but I would rather be starving than have peanut butter, and then Jeff Probst came in my tent. And the producers told me later that he rarely ever comes in anyone's tent when they're out. He usually never comes in the tent. He came in and he goes, Anna, that sucks. He goes, I want to tell you that you couldn't control your destiny. The tribe swap really screwed up your game. You played a great game. He goes, I'll be honest with you. He goes, you were my pick to win. I go, wow. He goes, I really thought you were going to win. I go, me too. And the moment he said that is when it really hit me that I was out. That was when I started crying. And I was like, Jeff, why did you even come in here? Because now I'm a mess. And I realized it was over. It was really, really over. And it was my dream to play. And I went pretty much halfway. And I was disappointed in myself, even though this is what actually almost my whole, pretty much all the contestants told me the same thing. I was the only person on the whole show. This is, by the way, this is all God's grace, right? They all told me you were the only person on the show that could not control her destiny. It was picked for you. There's no way you could have stayed. And it's humbling, but it's also like, wow, it was really God's destiny. Because I left the show and I thought, maybe I could have done this, maybe I could have done that, maybe I should have done this, maybe I should have done that. And they all told me your fate was really sealed and it was out of my control. Divine intervention? I think so. And I think I'm probably one of the only people that ever really went through the details of the show. I'll tell you why, because a lot of people want to get back on the show. So you don't really talk about the behind the scenes. I kid you not. I think I'm the only one that ever really goes into detail of behind the scenes. This is more than I've seen anyone talk about Survivor. There are some things that I can't talk about, little tiny things, just in case, because I want to protect but I will tell you this, the show is 99% reality, like real. There's a little bit from what I heard, because I didn't even go through it, what I heard going in the end, when you get to the end, sometimes they have an eye on who they would like to see win. Doesn't mean that they control who wins. But that's all I'll say. You can read between the lines. I don't want to get sued. Anyway, I didn't even see it firsthand anyway. It's what I heard. But it's still super, super real, super authentic. You have to figure out what's going on. No one tells you what's going on. But if you sometimes listen to the questions they ask you in the interviews, you can maybe piece some things together. But you have to really pay attention. But that's the only kind of thing. But otherwise, it's 99%. Pretty, very, very, very real, like very real. Way better on your own. If you won Survivor, you probably would be hosting some show. True. Yeah, that's another reason why I know God closed that chapter, because I knew if I would have went farther, I knew I would play again. I knew I was going to get asked back. I just knew it. And God is like, nope, your dream came true. Moving on. So that was another reason when I got out as early as I did, like halfway, I was like, I didn't even make the merge. Like, I didn't even make the merge. Sorry if I'm spoiling it for anybody, but I was like so devastated that I didn't even make the merge. I wasn't part of the show anymore, and I was out. I was so devastated. But you know what? It's really good that that happened to me, because I would have still been in the survivor, sphere, and even because there's really like two different parties, two different groups of people. It's pre-merge and post-merge. Like everyone that merges, the contestants are really close, right? Everyone pre-merge are kind of like, oh, you didn't really make it, so you didn't really know what happened. So there's like a different feel, and there's different people are really close in pre-merge, and people in post-merge are very close too. So I was close to Julie and Michelle, but still, I can still sense, they went farther. So they have more things in common. They have more experiences in common together. So they were really, really, really close. So it was another thing where I was like, man, I don't even feel like I fit in anymore. I don't know. So I stopped going to all the parties and all the invitations. And then I met Jesus, and I have my party with the Lord now. So, and it's more fun, by the way, with Jesus in my life. So I wouldn't trade him for the world. And, it's crazy watching the before and after. Like, I have a picture that I have on my Instagram. I'll have my Instagram here, just you guys want to follow. It's Annie Khait. But there's a picture. I was going to put it on this thing so I don't have to make you go there. But on my Instagram, there's a picture before and after. Before Jesus and after Jesus. Like right before I started the show playing poker, and then right after I got saved. Like you can see a big difference. And watching that little clip, that little video I had in the beginning of the show, where my eyes are so black, so dark, I look at that person and I'm like, wow, I don't even know that person. That is a different human being. Like that Anna died and I'm a totally different Anna because of Jesus. He changed my whole life, and my perspective and my morals and everything I thought was success and cool, was just, I've been there, done that. And by the way, all the parties I went to, most of the contestants are amazing, but there's drugs, there's alcohol, there's people cheating on their wives, people cheating on their husbands. And I'm thinking, man, I don't like this at all. Even when I was in the world and not a Christian, I was never into that. And I'll actually tell you this real quick, because there's been so much hate, and all as well, I forgave all of them. And I say this to point this out. I think I was probably one of the only survivors. I mean, there's people that are married and are good people, but I think I was one of the only ones, and them too, that never hooked up or kissed. I never kissed any survivor person ever. Didn't, anything like that. So, with any gentleman or anything like that. But it's interesting when you become a conservative Christian and all the attacks come your way and all the different rumors. And I'm thinking, I stopped going to the parties because of all that. I wanted nothing to do with it, even when I wasn't a Christian. So by God's grace, though, he took me out of that world, out of that party and being cool. It was, people are lost, depressed, broken. And I didn't want to be part of it. How was the pre-jury trip? Yeah, thank you. So going back to Survivor, I know I kind of went down a path, but it was literally, how did I learn? How did I come to know Jesus? I have a testimony video. I go through the whole thing. It's about an hour and a half of my whole testimony. It's on my YouTube channel, where you are right now on YouTube. Watch the one that's pinned, because it's a long story. Yes, the pre-jury. So pre-merge, when you're out before the merge, you go on a pre-jury trip, which actually was one of the funnest parts of Survivor. I loved filming the show. I wish I would have stayed on the show, but what happens is when you're off the show, someone asked, what happens when you're off the show? When you are off the show, you go to an island called Ponderosa. Ponderosa is for those that are off Survivor. We were hanging out there. There was a buffet. There was all types of food. Oh my goodness. It was Cambodian food. It was so good. It was like Thai food, Cambodian food. It was Southeast Asian food. Like the best green curry soup. I mean, I kid you not, think about it sometimes. Like they had the best cook there. We can get food anytime you want. There's all these movies you can watch. There's all these games you can watch. We were playing volleyball. We they took us to town once in a while. We went to Angkor Wat to see Angkor Wat in Cambodia. Like super, super amazing to be off the show. And by the way, another thing too, when you fly out to the destination, remember I told you we were actually on Ponderosa before the show. So we were about 4 or 5 days eating, and we had breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We couldn't talk to one another. And then we got on our islands and the show started and we can all talk. Now, what was my point with that? My point with that was, as soon as we got on that island together, the Ponderosa, even before we started filming, our phones were taken away. So we did not have our phones pre-show, during the show, and after the show. They made a rule that everyone gets their phone back years ago. Everyone gets their phone back when the last person finishes the show. Why? Because if they gave me back my phone, let's say I'm pre-merge, right? I'm on the island and I can have my phone and I can tweet and I can do Instagram. What fans would do when the show first started and everyone got their phone back off the show to call their family, call their friends, tweet and Facebook, whatever. I don't think there even was really social media. I think maybe just Facebook in 2000. But anyway, fans started realizing, okay, Anna's out first, then this one's out, then that one is out. They would piece it together. So no one gets their phone back until you are off. Everyone is off the show. So once the show ends, we get on the planes, we all get our phone at the same time. So no one can piece together who's out first, who's out next, who's out this. I actually, we had an NDA, so I couldn't even talk about being on the show until it was announced. I remember I was back in the back to playing poker, and rumor went around. Some friends said some things to some people and everyone was excited. And then the whole community knew. And I was being interviewed at the World Series of Poker and whatever, WPT World Poker Tour. And they were asking me, so I heard you're going to be on Survivor. And I said, I can't confirm or deny. So I wasn't allowed to say anything until it was announced. Because people figured it out too, because I didn't have my phone for a month and a half. I was off the radar for a month and a half because you're not allowed to have it on the show. We were filming. The show is 39 days. By the way, the new show, the new format, it's no longer 39 days. I don't even know how long it is, but it's not 39 days anymore. And that's too bad because that's something that I talk about with, I'm just trying to put the camera back in focus. It's something that me and Russell Hantz talked about. It's going to be on the show tomorrow. The video, we did the interview already, but it's going to be on tomorrow on YouTube. We talked about the new format. It's 39 days is long, but it's truly worth it. You're playing for $1 million, $1 million. It shouldn't be 10 days. It shouldn't be 20 days. It should be 39 days, just like we always did it in the past. It should continue that way, but they're making it easier and easier. They're becoming more and more woke. And I was talking about this with Russell. I don't know how much longer Survivor is going to be on air. It's too bad because it's a really good show. I like I said, I don't watch it anymore, but I used to love Survivor. I love it. But after I did the show, I was very sad and salty because I was really broken. I really wanted to go farther, but it was God's will. And you know what? I'm so glad that I was cleansed of it because when I got home, I go, okay, I did my dream. I'm done. I'm moving on. And I'm very happy. It's 26 days now. Yeah, 13 days is a long time. 13 days is how long I was on the show. I was on the show for 13 days. And it's a long time. Those days go by slow, you guys. Slow. Because you don't have your phone. You don't have TV. You don't have a book. You just have each other. And the day goes tick, tock, tick, tock. So it goes by super slow. So 13 days is a big, big handout, in my opinion. It should be 39 days. Maybe because they're trying to save money. I don't know. What aspects of Survivor do you still enjoy to this day? Well, to be honest, Paco Man, I don't watch Survivor anymore. What I really enjoyed when I did watch it was the psychological aspect, watching how people, and obviously so now I understand also spiritual aspect, right? Not just not just your mind, but also the spiritual realm. Watching that in a different way now would be interesting because people react to different situations, especially being hungry and being paranoid. When you're on the show, you're also paranoid, right? You're like, did they talk about me? Are they talking about, did he just look at me because he wants me out? And all these thoughts kind of go through your mind. And actually, I want to say this. It made sense I remember when, before the show started, they said there's going to be a psychologist when we get off the show. You get a bunch of snacks right away, and you meet a psychologist, and the psychologist talks to you almost every other day. How are you doing? How are you adjusting? I thought it was so stupid. I was like, I don't need a psychologist. Why would I need a psychologist? And let me tell you, when you immerse yourself in a game and you're playing this game 24/7, even for 13 days or 2 days, I'll be honest with you, you actually, I mean, thank God I have Jesus, but this is before I knew Jesus. But coming off the show, it was extremely important to have a psychologist because I kid you not, I had a little bit of PTSD, a little bit. Even being on the show for, almost half the time, 13 days, or a third of the time, because when I got off the show, they kind of had to walk me through, not kind of, but had to walk me through that I'm out of the game. Because your mind is like, okay, I got to do this, I got to do that. Is they looking at me? Am I being watched? And so you kind of have to snap back. You're out of a game. You're living normal life. Like, calm down, take a deep breath, let's pray, right? And I'm glad they had a psychologist. It really, really helped. I will tell you, when I really noticed I had a little bit of PTSD was when I got back home. I thought I was back to normal, even though I was a little bit depressed because I was off the show. I mean, I was actually depressed for about a month and a half. We went on the pre-jury trip. By the way, someone asked about the pre-jury trip. Let me back up a little bit. Before the show, we're on Ponderosa, preparing. We're waiting every day. We don't know. Is it going to start tomorrow? Is it going to start the next day? We can't talk to each other. We film the show. Then you're on the show, you're filming. And once you're out of the show, there's pre-merge and there's the merge, right? Pre-merge people, when they're on Ponderosa, we go to Ponderosa, we eat, we enjoy. They give us all these things to do, like TV movies, and we can play video games, we can play sports, we can eat, we can hang out to keep us busy. And we're meeting a psychologist every day to kind of get back into normal life. And the reason why they keep us so busy with all these activities and things to do is because we don't have our phones. And we're like, we miss home. We want to talk to our family. And they go, no, you cannot. So sorry. If you want to, the only way we can communicate with our families was through a producer. Like, I would ask, how's my grandpa? Because my grandpa got cancer. So I almost didn't do the show because my grandpa got cancer. And he told me, no. I want you to do the show. And I'm very grateful for that. I almost didn't go. And actually, amazingly enough, as soon as I filmed the show, I had a trip with my boyfriend and family planned, and we went to go to Europe. And so right after that little tiny family vacation for 4 days, instantly I flew to Ukraine to see my grandpa and saw my grandpa, and he waited for me. The day after I left, he passed away. He waited. So thank God I told him the date I'm going to visit. But anyway, I'm grateful he let me play. But I wouldn't have played if I just wasn't going to play. But he really convinced me, you have to play. And anyway, but he got saved actually on his deathbed. He found Jesus. So praise God. But anyways, all is well. But this is when I realized I had a little bit of PTSD. Thank you for sharing all this. You're very welcome. This is when I realized I had a little bit of PTSD. And I'm cleansed. It's gone. It's under the blood. But this is before I knew Jesus again. As soon as I got home, about 4 or 5 days after I got home, or 3 days after I got home, me and my ex-boyfriend, we were together at the time, and his whole family and the children and the girlfriends, his family is amazing. They took us on a trip to Europe. We went to France and England. And it was like a 4 or 5 day family trip. We had an amazing time. But this is what happened. We went to go to the Louvre, the big museum, very famous museum in France. So we went to this museum, we're walking around, and I started getting thirsty. And so I go, hey, let's go get some water. We go to this one gift store on the first floor. No water. They ran out of water bottles. Okay, we'll go to the other. They said, if you go on the second floor, all the way across, there's another store. They have water. So we walked up the stairs all the way to, when I say all the way, it wasn't like so far, but for me, it started triggering me. I, again, just filmed the show maybe 3-4 weeks, maybe about 3 weeks before this trip. About 3 weeks before this trip, almost a month. And we go to the second floor, we go all the way across, and I'm starting to panic a little bit. I'm thinking, why am I panicking? But I'm panicking. I need water. I'm really thirsty. Anyway, I mean, these are third world problems you don't realize are really, people really struggle with this on the daily in different countries, right? But you don't realize how blessed you are to have water at your convenience. So we went all the way to the second floor, all the way on the other side of the Louvre. We go there. They don't have any water. They ran out of water bottles. By the way, totally normal. It's a beautiful day in summer. Tourists are in this museum. It's not a big deal. You can go outside, walk half a block, and there's restaurants that sell water. There's grocery stores that sell water. But for me, I snapped. I had a full-blown panic attack. And I've had maybe about 3 panic attacks my whole entire life. This was one of them. And actually, one of them was when I got red-pilled and I went down the rabbit hole and realized like the whole veil came off and I realized all the evil in the world. I had a panic attack. And the other one was when I was in the Louvre and I freak out. I go, Susan, we don't have any water. Oh my God. And I couldn't breathe. I couldn't talk. I freaked out. I freaked out. And thank God my ex's mom is a nurse. And she realized that I was having a panic attack. And she realized it's because I was just on Survivor. We didn't have a lot of water. We really fought for that water. Like we didn't have that much. And so, especially because again, the women didn't know the water was filtered in the well. So we were drinking this nasty water for 13 days. Your brain goes somewhere else. So I was in straight up survival mode, freaked out in the middle of the Louvre and everyone's staring at me. I don't know. I don't honestly remember half of the things that I said, but I was just freaking out. I was like, we got to get water. How are they going to have water? We got to get water right now. We got to get water right now. And she stopped me. She said, Anna, take a deep breath. Everything is okay. We will get you water. Calm down. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. Anna, it's okay. Everything's fine. We have water in. And then she started lying to me. There's water in our bags. Don't worry about it. And I started to calm down, started breathing. Again, this is before Jesus. So I don't know, like, dang, I just straight fear. And I took it and I got out of it. And she looked at me. She said, you just had PTSD from not having water from the show. And that's when I realized, wow, oh my goodness. Okay. So that was when, I realized this show, it's important to have a psychologist when you come off the show. And obviously, Jesus and the Lord during the show and after the show, really, because it takes a mental toll on you. Really, really does. And that's when I really, really understood why they had a psychologist for us to check on us. And that's why they called, how are you doing today? And that day I said, I had a full-blown panic attack today in the museum, in front of the public, like in public, full-blown. This girl lost her mind. There's water everywhere. I'm sure there's a water fountain somewhere, but I freaked out. So that was, amen. That was interesting. Okay, I'm going to read some of your questions and I'm going an hour and a half. So I'm going to take maybe another 10 minutes, answer some more of your questions and wrap it up. So where did I go on my pre-jury trip? Great question. So again, another thing too, why pre-merge have to leave and then the merge come in, because the merge, they talk to each other about the game. They talk about who they're going to vote for. So pre-merge have to go somewhere. They have to leave Ponderosa. So I remember that day when they said, hey, you guys, we're packing up your stuff. Tomorrow morning, we're going on a pre-jury trip. And I was like, I don't want to go to I want to stay here. I want to be part of the game. And they said, Anna, you can't. You're out again. So you need to pack up. We're leaving. So we ended up having a 2-week trip. Super fun. But I was also like super depressed waking up. So I didn't really enjoy most of it because I was kind of in a space like, why am I here? I should be on the show. What am I, so it took me a long time to snap out of it. But they took us to all over Cambodia. We went to Angkor Wat. We went to Phnom Penh, which is the capital of Cambodia. We actually took about 3 days in Cambodia. And then the rest of the trip, we went all the way up the coast of Vietnam, which was beautiful. We started from Ho Chi Minh and then we went up, and we ended at Hanoi, which are these beautiful islands in northern Vietnam. Beautiful. We went every day. We had an activity. We'd either go to museum. We either went to, in Hanoi, we went in the caves. It was so beautiful. And about halfway in the trip, I started kind of adjusting to real life again and realizing, okay, I'm out of the show, and you can be depressed, Anna, or you can enjoy this trip. And I started to enjoy it. We went we went to a lot of different things. We had a tour in Vietnam, was super fun. We did a food tour. By the way, something I really recommend that I did for the first time then, which is if you go to a different country, there's even in New York, there's a really good food tour that basically it's people who know, locals who know the area really well, and they'll take you to the best local spots, the best mom and pop food, the best places to try like local stuff and local experiences. So food tours are a great way to really learn about a country. So we did a foodie tour, and these cute like group of people. It was me, Darnell, Alicia, Jennifer. I'm not going to actually say the names because in case I don't want to spoil it for you guys. But anyway, the pre-merge team, we went on, and also the two handlers, the staff that was with us, making sure we don't run away and make sure we don't find a computer somewhere and email any friends, which I wasn't supposed to do, but I found a computer and I ran away. Anyway, there in the middle of the night, that was crazy, in Cambodia, my Lord. But I'm not gonna go there. But I really had to let my boyfriend know at the time, I'm out of the show. I can't believe it. And I found a computer and I sent this email, and I must have looked like I was being trafficked because I was running around, bending down, trying to make sure the handler, the people that were watching us didn't see me, snuck into this hotel and begged for a computer. Anyways, that's another story for another time. I was kind of crazy back then, but we did this foodie tour, and they took us to these local spots, these little mom and pop places. And we were on this little motor. They took on this little moped. It was so much fun. It was one of the funnest trips I ever did in my life. It was so much fun. We did these little mom and pops, and then they took us to a local person's house. I don't really know how hygienic that was because we walked in. It was like this little alleyway. We go in this person's home. There's like 20 people sleeping there. This is in Vietnam. I'm thinking, oh my goodness, where are they taking us? And then they took us to this person's living room, and they started cooking for us. I mean, I don't know how hygienic it was, but it was super delicious and it was super fun. And you got to see local life really well, because you can't see that when you're walking around the main streets, but you can kind of see some of the local life when you do a foodie tour. So the pre-jury trip was super fun. Vietnam and Cambodia, that was quite an experience. Okay, you guys can keep up with me. I talk a lot, and I know I'm going on different tangents. Amen. That's right. Praise the Lord. Okay, I'm going to find maybe 3-4 more of your questions, and I'll end this. Let me see. Yeah, I had a bunch of people tell me that I was their pick to win. It was Jeff, Russell Hantz. There were so many people. And that's when I got home, and, the show's about to air, and all the articles are coming out, and she's my pick to win. He's my pick to win. And I was thinking, man, I'm going to really disappoint you guys because I did not win. Someone asked me here, who are some of my favorite Survivor players? Russell Hantz was the reason why I started the show, wanted to get on the show. He's going to be on my show tomorrow talking about Survivor. So I think I'm going to air it around 1 p.m. Eastern time. I interviewed him a few days ago. I would watch it. It's quite an interesting interview. And so Russell Hantz and Parvati, my two favorite players on Survivor. I got to meet both, and both are really amazing people. The only one that was Christian was Caleb. He was Christian, he rededicated his life after the show. So yeah, he's Christian, his wife. They're wonderful. They're wonderful people. Do you have any dreams about Survivor? No, that's a great question. I do not. It is literally under the blood. It's literally it's the past. Like, it's the old me. I don't think about it anymore. I don't dream about it, to be honest with you. This video itself, we're live right now, but to talk about Survivor, I wanted to get it done a long time ago because it's really not part of my life anymore. But I did want to talk about my experience with you guys. So I don't have any dreams. I don't think about it. I actually don't talk to really anyone on Survivor except Russell. I talk to Russell here and there. Even in poker, like the only people I speak to that are conservative, not conservative, but conservative, who are the only ones that talk to me, is like Doyle Brunson from Survivor. Thoughts on Aubrey? She's an amazing human being. Aubrey is a very sweet girl. Actually, one of the only people to message me. I'm just going to say this because this is kudos to her character. Aubrey is the only one out of everyone on Survivor who messaged me and said, Anna, you and I have different opinions on politics, but I have to commend you. You stick to what you say, and you don't care what anybody thinks. You say what you feel and what you believe in. And she said, I can respect that. And she said, honestly, that boldness, it inspires me. She said that message about like 3 years ago, 2018, 2019, randomly. And I was like, wow, she's the only one on the whole show who disagrees with me politically. And it's fine. I don't badger anyone. I don't shame anyone. I don't attack anyone. I bless them. I truly love them. And I truly do pray for them. I still do pray for them, especially the people I was really close to who don't talk to me anymore because they think I'm an insurrectionist because I happen to be listening to my president's speech on January 6th. I did not go in the Capitol, but anyway, I'm still an insurrectionist. But anyway, she was the only one that messaged me and said, even though we disagree, I have a lot of respect that you just say it like it is and you don't care what anyone says. And I'll be honest with you, there's obviously not many conservatives that played the show. So a lot of survivors most of them, I would say 90% of them are liberal, very liberal. Not like some of them are middle, sort of. Most of them are very liberal. There's a few conservatives on the show, a few conservatives on Survivor, and that's fine. Amen. Okay. Me and Russell, I think, are the only ones who are publicly open with our conservative views. There is like that 9% who are conservative who message me privately, who don't say it publicly, but they message me privately and say, Anna, I agree with everything you're saying politically. And I wish I had the boldness to say it. And I always tell them, well, you should. If you really believe in this, if you believe that this country is a mess, you should say it. And you should say your opinions. And I know why. I was talking to Russell about this off the show. I said, why do you think that we're the only ones that talk about our conservative political beliefs and everyone else doesn't? Is it because they're scared to be attacked, or like you and I get the brunt of the hatred? And he said, no, the reason why they don't say anything is because they want to play again. They want to play again. So that's why they don't say what they really believe in. So anyway, all is well. We'll fight for them on their behalf then. Oh yeah? Which pastor? Is it Coach? No, I don't think Coach is a. Do you remember the date you were taken off the show? That's a good question. It was in April. It was like, I think it was like the first, we got to Cambodia, Ponderosa, end of March. We flew through China. We landed in Cambodia. Then we started filming, I think it was like the 3rd or 4th day of April. So you can do the math. I think it was like April, I'm totally guessing, 16, 17, 18, 16, 17 maybe. We got back home at the end of April. I think I got home on May 5th is what I remember. May 5th was a day that I remember. So if you can do the math, let me know. I don't know the exact date. It scared all of us. And Caleb almost died on that episode. That's why I say my season 32 was one of the best seasons. It was one of the craziest seasons too. It was one of the hardest seasons. From what I hear, people get water bottles now. We didn't get water bottles. That's why you saw 3 people go down with a heat stroke. 1 person almost died. Caleb, his liver and his kidney started failing in that spot. And I remember, I kind of shared this in the beginning, an hour ago now, when I saw Caleb go down and I was screaming, when I saw his eyes going back of his head, rolling back, and he was barely breathing. He was like this, like he couldn't take a deep breath and his eyes were rolling back. That's when I started yelling, Jeff, get over here. He goes, hold on, I'll be right there. Because Sydney went down and then Debbie went down. You had 2 people a heat stroke, but this guy, really bad, right? And I'm screaming, Jeff. And he's not coming over. I'm like, Jeff. And I cursed. I said, Jeff, get the F over here right now. This is serious. And he ran over and he looked at him. One look, and the doctor ran over. When I saw the doctor's face and Jeff looked at the doctor's face, he realized we got a big problem here. Jeff, turn around right away. I got the chills. I need every staff member right now. Getting water and give everybody water right now. And the doctor took Caleb's legs, put it on his shoulders. And I knew he wasn't getting enough blood to his major organs, his brain, his heart, his major organs. And I realized, and it still didn't hit me that he was going to be out, like medically evacuated, because we were such a strong team. And once he was medically evacuated, I mean, that reaction on camera, when Jeff told us he's out of the game, you can see, I lost it. I was like, I lost it. Because I was really trying to pull over Caleb to me and the girls, to be 3 girls and a guy. And we have the numbers. We can take out Nick and Ty and all that. And man, I lost it. And that's when I realized, dang, we just lost momentum. We were winning everything. We were winning and winning. I'm thinking, I'm going to win $1 million. And then he was out. And that moment was when the whole game shifted. That's when there was a tribe switch. And that was when I was out. It changed. Caleb's departure changed everything for me. And like I said, he almost died. So if he would have, that would have been over Survivor. That's when Jeff realized, when the doctor whispered, I saw the doctor whisper in Jeff's ear. Jeff's eyes was like this. I need every staff member to help everyone. And that's when that show almost ended in season 32. And actually, I'll share this real quick. It was actually leaked before, because Survivor doesn't tell you where you're going. They don't tell you, hey, you're going to Cambodia. It was actually leaked in the media about a few days or a week before I flew out to film the show. It was leaked. Survivor filming in Cambodia. And I thought, Cambodia? What the heck am I going to do in Cambodia? So I started looking up Cambodia. What kind of weather is there? What kind of, bugs are over there? And I looked it up, and actually France filmed their first season of French Survivor in Cambodia a year before that. And they didn't do all of the necessary pre-evaluations health-wise. So one gentleman, he wasn't even older. He was just, I think he was in his 30s or 40s. He had a very rare heart disease. And so they were about 3 or 4 days into filming, and the guy had a heart attack and passed away. And so they canceled. Obviously, they didn't film the rest of the show. And France canceled Survivor. So, but that's why you do all the necessary precautions before you film, because the last thing you want to do is have someone, God forbid, die. The show's over. So a year later, American Survivor flew us out to Cambodia anyway. So, and it was hard. And I talked to the producers. They said Cambodia was the hardest season, one of the hardest seasons to film. I think also Survivor Africa, which I think was season 2, was also very, very hard as well. And someone actually asked about a snake. By the way, list your questions, because I'll stay here another 5 minutes, answer some more questions. But someone said something about a snake. Yes, there was sand fleas, there were mosquitoes, all different shapes and sizes, all different. By the way, because the mosquitoes were different than they are in America, they carry different bacteria. So your body starts having different bumps, and not like a regular mosquito bump. What happens is, if you get a little tiny bump, the doctor told us you need to squeeze it out right away and take that stuff out. Because what happens is, I started noticing, they started asking me, do you have any bug bites that are hard, that are not soft, but they're hard? I said, yeah, I have like 2 or 3. And he looked at it. He says, you need to squeeze that out and put alcohol there and clean it, because that is going to, I'm telling you right now, he goes, that's going to be an abscess. It's going to be it gets inflamed, then it gets infected. I mean, your body's having a hard time. Like, it's freaking out, because I have like 1 million bug bites on me, and your immune system is trying to clean up all the mess, and they're trying to clean up this bacteria they've never seen before. So what happens is you start getting inflammation, and it gets hard and pussy. He said, you have to squeeze it out. and clean it right away. Because what happened, there was 2 people on the show that were taken off of my season. Actually, 3 people got medically evacuated. 2 people got evacuated because they got staph infection in one of those bug bites, and they didn't clean it, and it got worse and worse and worse. It turned into MRSA, which is antibiotic resistant, very, very contagious and very dangerous. It can lead to septic shock. You can die. So we had some of the craziest medical emergencies on Survivor on season 32. So I don't want to say anything more if you didn't watch it. It's going to be on Netflix in a month or 2, specifically my season, because it was one of the craziest ones. So I remember, and I'll end with this with the bug bite. This was a second or third day in the show. We filmed our first challenge, our first immunity challenge. And actually, was it immunity? Yeah, it was immunity, the first one. And the doctor asked me 2 things. How many times have you peed today? Not to be graphic, but this is what they asked. Talking my experience on Survivor. This is a real thing. He goes, how many times have you used the bathroom today to go number 1? And I said, once. He goes, how about yesterday? I go, once. He goes, you're dehydrated. You need to at least go to the bathroom 2, 3, 4 times a day, minimum 3 times a day. I go, well, do you want to, and I told him this. I said, well, do you want to grab me some water and boil it for me? Because we just don't have much to drink. We have to go all the way there, half a mile, bring it back, boil it, drink it. It's hot and disgusting. And we're thirsty, we're thirsty and we're hungry. So part of why I kind of had that panic attack when I got off the show with no water. So then the second thing he asked me was, do you have any bug bites on you that are hard? I said, yeah, I have 2. He goes, I need to squeeze it. And I remember the doctor squeezing this very hard. I'm telling you, the experience, people are like, I am never going to do the show. It's not easy. It's not for the faint of heart to do Survivor. And I'm being dead serious. Like, I'm being alive serious. I'm being serious. So the doctor starts squeezing my little bug bite, and my whole team about 50 yards away heard me screaming because there's nothing to squeeze, but the doctor is squeezing anyway. I'm screaming, ah! I'm screaming like a baby. And those were some memories I remember that, that were interesting. Yeah. Some interesting moments. Thank you, Jesus. How much of an impact do you think Survivor made on your life to make you the person you are today? That's a good question. That's a really good question. I have to actually think about that to give you an honest answer. No one's ever asked me that before. Make me who I am today. Well, one honest answer is that I didn't know Jesus before the show. So I didn't realize I was depressed in a way and just unhappy in life and sad. And I've always been a very happy person, but with the show, I really had a real epiphany of how blessed we are in America. Like, I really realized how first world we are in America and how much the communists and the devil wants to destroy our country and make it a third world country, how blessed we are. Because even in Cambodia, even when I was done with the show, when we were in Ponderosa, we were advised, do not wash and brush your teeth with the tap water in Cambodia. The way that we brushed our teeth was with a water bottle from the store, filtered, brush our teeth. There was one guy, I'm not going to say who it was because I don't want to embarrass him. Someone pre-jury, pre-merge, decided to brush his teeth. Even we were off the show, we were in Ponderosa, we're treated like kings and queens, right? He brushed his teeth with tap water. He had the worst diarrhea. He got so sick because the water is not filtered. The water is very, even though it's white and clear, you can see it coming out. It's very bad water. So you realize in moments like that, when you have to brush your teeth with bottled water, even though you're living in this beautiful hotel, it wasn't a hotel, actually. It was like bungalow resort. Like, it kind of looked like bungalows on this little island in Cambodia. You realize how blessed you are to be in America. So that's what I would say really impacted me, was I really took a lot of the little things for granted. And so when you have like a panic attack, freak out moment of when you're off the show, you don't have a water bottle and you freak out. That's when I realized, man, it changed my perspective on how blessed I am and that there's more to life than just the very superficial stuff. Really, the superficial stuff really started to take a backseat. I didn't really care what kind of bag I had. I didn't care what kind of makeup. I didn't care. It was very minimalistic on Survivor. And so when I got home, I took that with me, and I realized you need the basics. And what it comes down to is love at the end of the day. And I really started to realize how blessed I am. And that's when I went on a search. So indirectly off Survivor, I started looking for God. I started looking for the truth. I started realizing there's more to life than just what I'm seeing and experiencing the past 25 years of my life. And that was when it led me to Jesus. So that completely changed my life. Kill everything but the bugs. Yeah. Oh, I'm glad you mentioned that. Actually, I remember we were talking with the cast after the show. We all asked each other, what's the one thing that you would never do for $1 million? And I even said this to my family and my friends before I filmed the show. I said, there's one thing I will never do for $1 million besides anything, you know what I mean? One thing I would never eat for $1 million is a cockroach. And I knew since it was leaked that we're going to Cambodia, I thought to myself, my goodness, if Jeff puts in that little blender cockroaches, I am not eating it for anybody. I am not eating it for $1 million. I'm not eating it for $4 million. I am not, maybe $1 billion, but definitely not $1 million. I hate cockroaches, disgusting. And I thought to myself, there's just no way. And I had team members saying, I would eat a cockroach. I'm like, you're crazy. So I would never do that. So that's one thing I would never do is eat a cockroach. But thankfully I didn't make it that far, and he didn't have any cockroaches to eat. So that was awesome. Okay. I'm going back in time. I'm going to go all the way to the new comments because I can go back and back and back, but I've seen the same things over and over again. So here we go. Questions. God is always waiting for us. Yes, that's true. Hey, Janine, God bless you. We're going on 2 hours, guys. Whoa. Yes. So I'm going to be wrapping it up now. We are blessed in America. Amen. Let me see any other questions. Paco, I see you asked that. Okay. Good question. The only one I'm personally friends with is Rob. Well, not the only one, but out of the winners, Russell Hantz should have won. So I know him, but Rob is super amazing. When I got off the show, I did a Survivor tour, a poker tour. Sorry, I have a little cough. I did a little, was invited on a poker tournament thing, and Rob was there, Tyson was there, and I was there because 3 of us play poker, and we had so much fun. Rob is super fun, and so is Tyson. Some of the coolest people. And Rob leans conservative. I'll just say that. I mean, he's open with it. He's a really, 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 really great guy. Love Rob, love Tyson. Never met Amber. Love her. Never got to meet her. I never met Yule or talked to Yule. But the only ones I talk to is really Rob here and there. We don't really talk often, but Russell Hantz, and some conservative players that DM me privately, which I'm not going to say their names because they're secretly conservative, so I don't want to blow up their spot. It's up. They could do that. Grasshoppers. So Janine, I talked about it in the beginning. The weirdest thing I ate, which isn't really weird because people eat escargot, snails. We were starving. We ran out of fish. The crabs were so tiny and they ran so fast. It was very hard to catch them. So we were like, okay, we're running out of clams. What do we eat? So we found snails. We boiled the snails, which was very chewy, no salt and pepper. But you got to do what you got to do. You got to eat it. I would eat grasshoppers. We just did not find any. Oh, there was one other thing. That was one of the last things I was going to say was the snake. So one morning, I woke up, beautiful sunrise. It was so quiet. I put my feet on the ground, right? Because we're elevated on the shelter. Put my feet on the ground, and right next to my foot was a big snake skin. Big one. I mean, like, I kid you not. It was long and it was thick. And I remember I touched it. It was slightly moist, which means it's about like a day old. Like it's maybe a day and a half. Like it was moist. It was still a little moist. So that snake was slithering around our camp while we were sleeping. And I found it in the morning. And it wasn't on, they didn't show it on TV, but because there's so much, there's so much they take out of the show because, there's so much going on and every single day with each other 24/7. But that was one thing I was like, guys, there's a freaking snake skin. There's a snake here. The other thing that was on the show, did they show it? No, they didn't show it on the show, but there were 3 wild dogs on our beach. There was 3 wild dogs, but they didn't really bother us, but we saw them here and there. There was these tiny little dogs, tiny little things, so skinny, starving. I felt bad for them, but that was really the only thing. Yes, I was at Andrea's event. God bless you. Oh, the survivors are coming in, ask questions. And like I said before, I have never seen a survivor player ever go through so much detail of some of the behind the scenes. Again, like I said in the beginning, there's some things that I'm not allowed to talk about, very few things. Although my NDAs, most of them, I should say actually all of them expired 5 years because we have an expiration date of 5 years. You can't talk about anything production-wise or auditions-wise. There's some for 2 years, some for 5 years, and it expired. So, but I'm not telling you really anything that is like too crazy. I mean, really, some of the lingo and then also the experience, some of the audition process. But I have to say, again, it was an amazing experience. It was very authentic. I love that we did not talk to each other until we started filming. It was very, very contained, very, very well done. I was actually pleasantly surprised. And I will say this too. I knew the show was real years ago when I watched it, when I was a kid or teenager. And then right before I went out to film, my friends, I told them about the show. They fell in love with the show. And when I got on the show, they were like, it's definitely fake. It's so fake. And I said, there's no way it's fake. And I said, I will tell you the truth. And let me tell you, if the show was fake, I would tell you on YouTube. After my NDA expired, like it did already, I would be like, guys, it's fake. Like, don't watch it. It's not fake at all. I'm telling you, I always say it's 99%, like 99. In the end, they might have a favorite or two. They may give extra info. I don't know. I wasn't there. But otherwise, it is super, super, super legit. And the last thing I'll say is this. Who would I have voted for in the final 3? Michelle, because I was really close with her on the show. Yeah, it is legit. Super legit. Amen. I always say I went from surviving to thriving. I was surviving life and on the show to thriving with Jesus. Amen. Yeah, I was like, how could it be fake? There's no way it's fake. Like, who would fake this? And who would fake it? So I was like, there's no way it's fake. And I was very happy to tell them it's not fake, you guys. People almost died on my season and I saw it firsthand. So how long and how often? The interviews were about 15, 20 minutes. And it was almost every day. Some days when we had like a downtime and nothing was happening, they didn't bother us, but almost every day. Almost every day. So we actually filmed the obstacle courses and the challenges, immunity and reward challenges every 2-3 days. So we'll usually have at least a day in between, at least a day. So you have like reward challenge, you have a day off or 2 days off. And then you'd have like immunity challenge. Then you have a day off, maybe 2 days off, and then you have a reward challenge. And then that's kind of how it goes. Every 2-3 days is when you go back and again, you're filmed 24. By the way, at night, I'll and wrap up with this. 2 more thoughts. There's a camera 24/7. So what happens when you go to sleep? Right? When you go to sleep, this is funny. The first night I was like, what's going on? I thought they're all going to leave. No, well, actually most of the crew left, but there was one person sitting with a little camera facing where we sleep. And it was in the middle of the night. There's no lights, right? We don't have phones. There's no headlights. There's nothing. There's just pure pitch dark. Sleeping there. Again, all you hear is bzzz all night long. But there's one little tiny, tiny red dot right in front of us. And I knew that was the camera. So There was a guy literally sitting there with his little rain jacket on. It was pouring the first night. And I actually forgot to wrap up this little story. We were freezing the first night. I'm in my shorts. It's raining. It's our roof. There's no roof really. It's just some leaves, some palm tree leaves weaved together with big holes. We were soaked and it was cold and the wind. We were freezing. And I remember the first night thinking, what the heck did I get myself into? And I'm like, I can hear my teeth literally chattering. Like, and I heard Michelle also doing that. And then Ty was in the front. And we all realized we need body heat. We don't have blankets here. This is a real situation. We are freezing. And so I remember it was actually Ty first that went, Caleb, is it okay if I like hug you? Because I'm really cold. And so Ty hugged Caleb. Caleb was like, sure. So Ty hugged Caleb. Then I had Nick in front of me and I said, Nick, can I hug you too? Because I'm freezing. I did not like Nick on the show, you guys know. And he's like, sure. So we all ended up spooning, shaking, and like we just ended up falling asleep, body to body to body. Some of us hugged each other. Some of us just were cocooned in between. That was how we survived the first night. It was freezing. We were wet. We were cold. It was not an easy first night. And thankfully, the rest of the time, it really wasn't raining. It was sunny. It was cold, but it was sunny. There was just no rain. So that really helped. Thank you, Jesus. The first night was brutal. I thought, what did I get myself into? One thing to watch it on TV and thinking, oh, what are they complaining about? It's not that hard. And then you get there and you're thinking, what in the world am I doing? Am I smoking Hunter Biden's crack pipe? I mean, really, this is not easy. But you can do it. Mentally, spiritually, by God's grace, you can do it. And actually, that is the last thing I'm going to wrap up and say this. I was an atheist on the show. I was an atheist filming the show. But I kept saying this every single day. I felt it, I knew it, and I kept testifying it. I told them, my team was just sitting around. Again, most of them were like super lethargic, tired, laying around on the tarp, not on the tarp, on our little shelter. And I had so much energy. I kept saying, I feel my mom and all of her nuns, her friends are all nuns. They're all praying for me. I kept saying it almost every single day. You can ask my team. You can ask Michelle. You can ask Julia. I said it almost every day. I had such a grace. Like literally, when people ask me, is the show hard? Mentally, yes. Physically, yes. But when people ask me, the honest truth, my experience was I had so much fun and it was easy. And I'm telling you, I give all the glory to God because I said this every day. I literally felt like I was in a cocoon bubble of like glory. I had so much energy. I had so much clarity. I had so much peace and joy. Even though my physical body was like, what are you putting me through? I had a grace even in the body, even in the mind, even in sleeping through the mosquitoes. Like I still had perfect amount of sleep. I was hungry, but I had a good amount of food. And I was able to really, I kept saying it. I said, I feel my mom's prayers. I feel my mom's prayers. Every day I would say it. I can feel my mom. I felt a grace on me. And when I'm looking around, everyone's exhausted, tired, pissed off, hungry, sleep deprived. I was so joyful. And I know that was Jesus. I know that was the Holy Spirit. Yes, I did know. I already answered these questions. Yes, I did. Julia told me she was 18 and I told her I was a poker player. That we told each other that's how we got really close. So you're going to have to watch it from the beginning because I'm not going to say these questions again, but I answer all these questions. Did you know what to wear? Do they want you? Okay. This is a good question. I'll end with this. So when you get picked on the show, you get the phone call. When I got the phone call, hey, Anna, you're flying out in 2 weeks. You're on the show. You're not a standby. You're actually a contestant on the show because you have 20. My season there was 18 people and there was about 3 or 4 standbys in case one of us canceled. They had a standby. Thank God I wasn't a standby. Thank you, Jesus. So I was on the show. So I'm like, okay, in 2 weeks. So they said, here's what you need to do tomorrow morning. Yeah, tomorrow. Well, I think they gave me 2 days. So you have 2 days to ship us express mail. We will pay for the shipping. Send us 3 different outfits you want to wear. So to answer your question, they didn't tell us what to wear. We sent them options. And then what they did was, because every team is different, like for example, I was on the, sorry, I'm a little cough. Like I was on the beauty tribe, right? So this is all of us, after in our bikinis because it's so hot in Cambodia. But they would color coordinate. Like if you have like the main survivor picture, everyone has different clothes. So they don't want to have 10 people wearing yellow, right? So what they did was when you send your clothes in, your options, they'll say, okay, so Julie's going to wear this, Michelle's going to wear pink, Julie's going to wear blue. So they'll kind of be like, okay, wear this sweater with these shorts and then with this thing. And they actually, I think they picked pants for me. And I said, no, I don't want to wear pants. I want to wear shorts, which you guys know the reason, because I didn't want to be in underwear. It was so hot in Cambodia. I was in underwear anyway. All of us were in underwear because it was so hot. I wish I took pants. I wish I would have listened. But so yes and no. They don't, we send them options and then they tell us, then they pick the outfit. Then they pick the outfit. So good question. The other questions, what is the art to my right? That's a good question, Walter. That is Jesus. That is a 7-year-old, Akiana. If you Google her, she was on Oprah. She was 7 when she started, actually 5 when she started having visions of heaven. She didn't even know what heaven was. She started because her parents were atheists. She had visions of these beautiful colors and she had visions of this. She saw Jesus in one of the visions in heaven. And this picture is called the Prince of Peace. And actually there was a few years later, a little young boy, I think the movie's called Heaven is for Real. It's a great movie. Heaven is for Real. He died, went to heaven, came back, watched Akiana's show on Oprah, and he said, Daddy, that was who I saw in heaven. That's exactly what he looked like. And the parents were like, Jesus? He goes, yeah, his name is Jesus. I met him. So for those atheists out there, I was an atheist. I had an encounter with Jesus in a dream. He's real. So I'm praying for you as well. So yeah, it's called The Prince of Peace by Akiana. She was 7 when she drew it. I think she's like maybe 16 now. But anyways. Okay, so I think that wraps it up, you guys. You can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. I think this is like the last time I'm going to really talk about Survivor. I hope I answered all of your questions. Don't email me any questions because I'm probably not going to answer it. I answered so many questions here. You can email me anyway. I'm happy. I read your emails, you guys. I usually answer. I don't answer any Instagram DMs. I don't even look at it, so don't even waste your time. But you can email me, Gathering Bride. I do answer your emails. I'm happy to answer a question or two, but this will really be the last time I'm going to talk about Survivor. But I will say this, tomorrow, I am posting my interview with Russell Hantz at 1 p.m. Eastern time tomorrow. And that is really the last I'm going to talk about Survivor because it's in the past. Other people ask me too, do I watch the new woke Survivor? I don't watch Survivor anymore, and it's gone kind of, and me and Russell will talk about that tomorrow. You don't want to miss it. That will be tomorrow. Yes. Okay. You guys, it was an honor and a blessing to hang out here tonight and talk Survivor, all things Survivor. It was a really fun experience. It wasn't easy. I'm glad I did it. Even though I was out earlier than I wanted to, it was so much fun. And I wouldn't trade it for the world. I would trade it for, there's a few things I would trade it for, but like going to heaven, it's worth it. Giving everything up. But God is so good because he let me have my dream come true. But that chapter's over. Moving on to bigger and better things with Jesus. So praise the Lord. Anyways, you guys, it was a fun night. I will see y'all tomorrow with Russell Hantz interview, 1 p.m. Eastern time. It's a good one. He said some things I'm like, oh, this is going to be on like Survivor News. It's going to be some clips in there. So anyway, share this with your friends if you guys have friends who want to know about Survivor. I know I had a million questions for people. I'm like, is it real? Is it this? Is it that? Is it that? So I'm glad I was able to answer some questions because I know a lot of these things I covered today, I would want to know as a fan. So anyways, be blessed, guys. Have a good night.